Welcome back, everyone, to the After Scales podcast, episode 75, presented by DJD Graphics. I'm Jacob Dove of Phenom Motorsports, along with Shaun Blight of Canadian Racing Tours. On today's episode, we have BRENHAM CROUCH, driver of the CJB Motorsports number 5 for the High Limit Sprint Car Series out of Lubbock, Texas. Got my cowboy hat on for the young Texan. So, BRENHAM, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. Hopefully we can have a good conversation and shake it up a bit.
So, Brenham, obviously you've been busy running with the High Limit Series for your sophomore year. This year you're in the CJB number 5 car. Just talk to us about how you've been adjusting from your family's number 1 car and then joining CJB this off season and running so far halfway through the year with High Limit.
Yeah, now it's more, there's a whole lot more knowledge to be gained. There's a lot more resources and some really smart people on my side. So really just taking every little aspect in I guess from the driver's standpoint to improve on and picking apart each piece and dissecting everything and doing everything, one step at a time. So, that's been really helpful just to look back and see the progress that we've gained. It's hard to see the results, but I've cleaned up a lot of stuff thanks to my guys that are on board with me now. So I think if we continue to do that, then I'll be able to get them what they want as well in the future.
Yeah, I mean, you say maybe not looking at the results, but I mean, Jacob and I, we've talked about this before. We've noticed better results with you. Um,
Mhm.
More consistency, more running up front, certainly more dash appearances, stuff like that. And just as the season goes on, you just seem to be getting more confident and better and better. Is that just gelling with the team or just maybe more experience going to tracks you've been to before, a combination of things? What do you attribute that to?
I really think it's a little bit of everything, like you said. Like I've been to some of these racetracks before now, but honestly, I think that the ones that we've strived at the most is really the racetracks that nobody's ever been to before. Where everybody's on the same level playing field. Like Kentucky, for example, we were really good there. Nobody had really seen it. But like having a guy like Paul McMahan in my corner has been absolutely awesome throughout the year. I think every time he shows up to the racetrack, I make vast improvements, and I owe it a lot of it to him because he just takes a lot of the anticipation part out of it, which is I think the biggest thing I'm working on right now. But he'll walk up to me and be like, "Hey, this is where the racetrack's going to be here in 10 laps." And, so I don't have to really think about it. I trust him enough and trust my guys enough to really just go do my job and take what they give me and put it to good use. You know what I mean? So just really trying to listen and act on what they have told me. And that's really what's gotten me those results. I think, I mean, obviously got a long ways to go, but I do agree, like you said, dash appearances and more top tens, and it's starting to shuffle themselves in slowly. And so, like I said, I think even just from the beginning of the conversation going back, like I think that I owe it a lot of it to the resources that have been put around me.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Paul McMahon, very successful sprint car driver in himself. And, when you joined CJB, who's, a very storybook team, that very successful, had a lot of great drivers throughout the years. How good at knowing when you made the transition from your family-owned number 1 car to the 5 car, Paul came on as a driver coach to you. Like, how good is it knowing you have, one of the best equipment, best teams, best mentors to give you the opportunity to go run high limit against some of the best sprint car drivers in the world?
Yeah, like I didn't really even know Paul much until about Chili Bowl. That was the first kind of side I got of him, and he kind of just was like, "Hey, man, showed up to my trailer unrelated to me. Didn't even know I was gonna be there." And we kind of, we introduced ourselves, and like honestly, he became a friend more so before a mentor. That whole week, I was kind of trying to lean on him, and every time, man, he'd just say, "You're doing a hell of a job. Just keep doing what you're doing, this and that." And obviously, I have a little bit more experience in a midget than I do a sprint car, but that I think that little bit of chemistry that we had built has helped. He's comfortable telling me when I mess up, or giving me a pat on the back or whatever, and he kind of can read when I'm struggling, say, so to speak, or he's just been really good at picking apart what I need to improve on. And I think that's what I struggled with last year, going back to like my family and team. I think that just we lacked a lot of knowledge at a national scale. We had some success at regional level stuff, and we did make a really big jump. And if we could have gone back and done it again, probably wouldn't have done that. But hindsight's 2020, and I feel like we ended up in a decent spot out of the whole deal. So everything happens for a reason, and I've had really good opportunities to get me to where I'm at, and thankful for that as well. But yeah, no, I think really just like I said, the Paul being with me and becoming a friend more so before anything else. Just honestly, you're never gonna meet a better guy. Like, he can show up to the racetrack and um, really just conversate with everybody, anybody. He's friends with everybody. I don't think there's anybody out there that doesn't like him, and he does have an endless amount of knowledge just from doing it for so long. So, yeah, just trying to soak all that in like I'm like a sponge. Really is my main goal with him.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk to you about Kings Royal because, like, man, you almost made the show. Kings Royal missed the transfer by one spot, I think. Um, we had Casey Jedrzak on, who just came out of nowhere to start on the pole, but we were talking about all the crashes and torn up equipment and injured drivers and stuff. And curious to get your take because obviously you're a driver. I'm just a stupid fan watching, but um, I was kind of theorizing all week that like Eldora is one of these tracks, especially for sprint cars. Like, you get out single file and it's really, really hard to pass. So guys seem to me like they're just throwing caution to the wind on restarts or the start of heat races and just trying to gain as much as they could. And then you're getting a lot of torn up equipment. Is that how you saw it, or is that kind of, or is there something else maybe?
Yes, I do. I do agree that, I mean, I'm one for, you could probably call out as well, like on restarts, like you've got to be aggressive nowadays because it doesn't really matter where you go. Like, sprint cars, where they're at as a whole right now is very hard, and I can't really say like why exactly. In my personal opinion, everybody's just so close. Like, once everybody gets in their little air bubble, it's hard to run somebody down with all the aero games being played. And like I said, everybody's motor runs so good, and everybody's got the same amount of grip, you know, to the racetrack, and making the same ground speed and everything. So, especially on half miles, like you said. So yeah, I mean, I would say that that's the case. I think that the last year or two, you've seen that with, at least personally, I've been able to see it with High Limit. Everybody's pushing the envelope a lot more than kind of what I remember. 3, 4 years in the past, right? Guys are having to put themselves in almost vulnerable situations because the pace is so high. Like, you watch guys, it doesn't really matter where it is, like, try to keep up with the leader's pace and end up messing up. The amount of times you see guys running second or third and end up in an accident, I feel like it's more common now just because of the high pace, right? They're doing everything they can to just keep up with whoever it is in front of them because clean air is so crucial now. Um, I don't know. As far as Eldora itself, I think like you can navigate the holes just fine. But when you don't have any speed and you don't have any air on the wing, like I said, you put yourself in vulnerable situations just to try to make a couple, gain a couple spots. And I think ultimately that's where you watched Aaron's crash and Justin's crash. Like, to me, those are just, you know, they're on the edge, and at some point you're gonna find that edge, and that's what the sacrifice we take as race car drivers. Like, if you want to be successful, especially nowadays, like, that's where you have to be. As far as kind of the pile up on, I guess it would have been Thursday night. Like, to me, I think everybody's just fighting for the same real estate there. Like the way the racetrack was, it had a lot of moisture in it from the rain, and everybody knew it was going to be rough. I think some guys were just trying to get through one, and other guys were trying to make up a lot of ground. And um, it also looked to me like some guys just lost some air and like kind of went straight through the corners, kind of how it looked to me. Um, which I had that problem too throughout the weekend. Like if you don't have your angles right, and you don't have air on your board, like the race car's not going to want to turn left, and it's easier to do there than almost any other racetrack I've been to. So um, I really honestly think that you get a couple things going wrong. You're going really fast, and those holes get crucial, or get um, very aggressive, I guess. Uh, especially when you don't have that wing holding you down.
And going back a bit, Brenham, to your USAC midget days, obviously you ran for Keith Kunz, one of the best programs in midget racing. Having the support with Toyota and all that. Just kind of walk us through how Keith and Pete and all those guys supported. You kind of came up in that group of guys that went through a couple years with Keith and then moved up into the wing sprint cars really fast. All you guys are young and talented, and how that with the midget has translated into your wing sprint car racing.
Yeah, I think honestly, like the biggest thing I take away from it now is just kind of the aggression factor. You've got to have that as a race car driver nowadays, just to compete with your Kyle Larsons and your David Gravels, your Brad Sweets, your Corey Days, your Ricos. Everybody that is consistently up front is doing something right, and I think that they just found a really good balance of not giving an inch, um, while being very smart with their decisions, right? I think and being able to do that constantly for 30 laps, night in and night out. I think that's what makes a championship contender, right? Um, but as far as anything else, like truthfully, like I enjoy midgets a lot. I like to jump back in them and get in them, and um, other than that, really, there's not. Honestly, the only other thing I'd take away now is like the way the 410 tire compound is. I can revert back to that to making my own side bites sometimes, because you have to on some of these smaller racetracks with the way the tires are operating right now. Um, I do think that there is a little bit of experience I have over a couple other guys that might help me through um, just some technical situations. But truthfully, you kind of have to leave most of your midget racer at heart back in those days or back in that seat, because they are two completely different race cars.
Yeah, so I want to talk
Yes.
about Chili Bowl because I didn't get a chance to watch you growing up, so I just kind of saw you hop into a 410. And at Chili
Hmm.
Bowl, I saw you in the midget, and I was like, "Oh, you really got on my radar as a race fan." Just like, oh man, like yeah, there it is, right? Um,
Right, sure.
yeah, your prelim night. I mean, that was one of the best races of the whole week. Um, how much do you just enjoy that event? Because, and I'll part two of my question will be because I think it was the Thursday night, the Horizon Whiskey Brenham Crouch uh, pit area definitely had one of the better parties going on. So you're obviously having fun while you're taking the racing very seriously. But just talk to us about the Chili Bowl and just how much that means to you.
Yeah, no, I mean honestly, like it was planned all year long, but the logistics of everything came up really honestly pretty quickly and at the very end, kind of like how um my people like to do things. So we didn't have any expectations. Like we knew we had good equipment, but I hadn't sat in a midget in just about 2 years. Like hadn't even thought about racing a midget since then. So I think my race before that would have been either 2023 Chili Bowl, and I think I had maybe a midget week race or two that same year, but that was it. So we really were just going to have a good time and see what we could do. I knew, I've rolled around that place halfway decent in the past, and just, you got to have luck on your side, um, and the experience to keep yourself out of certain situations. And, I just hadn't been able to do that in the past. And everything kind of just fell together. Like, honestly, after our heat race, we went 2-2 and barely made a qualifier. We were just kind of sitting there like, we're just going to get in the show and try to get some decent points and put ourselves, somewhere, in a B or whatever. And, honestly, I don't remember putting in a whole lot of effort that qualifier going 7-1. Like it just kind of happened. Like I got up the ramp and they had a microphone in my face. I'm like, did this really happen? Like, because yeah, there were times, I rolled, I feel like I got rolling decent in the midget back in the, 22, before I got out. But like I said, we didn't have any expectations whatsoever. So to be sitting on the pole in itself was just really cool. I remember my guys just telling me to enjoy the moment, right? Because that's something you don't get to do very often. And then, we just kept clicking off laps in the lead, and I didn't really know where anybody was behind us, but I could feel myself kind of going away, and I could have made a couple different, I think, ultimately, I probably should have just started running the seatbelt slider line once Landon showed his nose, but I felt like there was still speed around the top, and I wasn't getting off all that good. So I just, keep doing what I'm doing until it doesn't work. He gave me one gift, and I should have learned then, but I didn't. So, ultimately still got to lock in, and then Saturday just didn't go our way. We just got shuffled back trying to be too aggressive. But no, I mean, I guess really fun week, like you said, going back to Thursday. Like I was kind of just there. That was more of my sponsors doing. Blake Helton with Horizon Whiskey. Brody Hayward had a really good, vending area or catering area for us all week, and between them two, I'm pretty sure we can always have a good time regardless of where we're at and what resources we have. um, we were just hanging out, having fun. Like we weren't even at a racetrack at that point. Like our job was done until Saturday, and we were just there for a good time, and we took full advantage of it. So that's hopefully we can put ourselves in the same position again, and
Yeah.
it'd be really cool to put ourselves in a similar situation coming up here at Nationals.
Yeah, it seems like from the time I watched you in the midgets, I'm down here in Florida, and it seems like just yesterday you were running 360s at my local dirt track, and now you're running full-time high limit. Just talk about, obviously racing is not, cheap at all. It's very expensive, takes a lot of resources, and you had a, great opportunity. Your family supports you. You've had your brother also racing as well, your younger brother. Just talk about, the support in your corner, being able to have people that want to see you succeed, and, the amount of progress that you've made in such a short time.
Yeah, like you said, very fortunate. My dad's been kind of my biggest supporter, him and my grandpa, since day one. Like if it weren't for them, I mean, I can't tell you where I'd be, honestly, because they've helped tremendously. And they've always pushed me to be my best. I can't tell you how many times I've been fed to the wolves. Example A or Exhibit A, my freshman year with High Limit, like I said, was probably jumping the gun a little bit, but um, my dad's just like to put me in those situations early in my just in life, really, and it always ends up paying off. You learn valuable lessons from getting your butt kicked, and then before you know it, you're just mixing it up with some guys that do it for a living, and you paid the same dues, and I wouldn't have any other way. I'd rather work for what I've had, and go through the lessons and do it that way than just have it handed to me. Not saying that I haven't been very fortunate. There's been a lot of guys that have worked a lot harder than me, but I try to compete in that aspect the best I can. But truthfully, like, yeah, back, my brother as well, he's actually just committed to playing baseball at the University of Northern Ohio. So he's looking to get in the racing program there as well, on scholarship. So yeah, like my dad, I owe it all to him and my family for supporting me. They've always done their best, and he took his life lessons and kind of molded a plan for us, and just trying to make life as easy as possible for us later on, and uh, by giving us all these life lessons, and making us do this stuff that might suck in the beginning, or whatever it might be, right? Like I've never been the one to get to go win a bunch of races or, collect a bunch of trophies or checks or this or that. Um, just now I feel like this is the longest I've stayed in one series since I was 8 years old playing, racing go-karts. So, um, but that was his goal. He wanted to get me here fast, and you know, he said if I had what it took, then I'd figure it out, and if not, then go figure something else out. But um, I think we're on a really good track, and if I continue to do what I need to do and keep my guys happy, and hopefully I can become independent in my racing career, and that's ultimately the goal, is just to do it for a living, right? And you know, hopefully at some point I can bring on more major sponsors with results that we can potentially get, and see where everything goes.
So we got big week at Knoxville, or big weeks at Knoxville coming up. You got the 360 Nationals, the 410 Nationals. What's your game plan going in? Goals going in? How do you feel going into this big month of August here?
Yeah, obviously everybody's goals to win, right? But I mean, I think like we rolled into the Outlaw weekend with no expectations there and made the show both nights with, I mean, probably the toughest field of cars we've raced all year. And raced really good around some really good race cars, and did everything right, so we know that we had the speed um, to be racing Saturday night. I think that if as long as we all do our job and take care of business, like there's no reason that we can't make the show. And at that point, I think just learn as much as possible while doing so. I think that's the biggest thing all year, is just you know try to reflect on something after the fact, whether it's a mistake or, something that's deserving of a high five, or, whatever it might be. I think ultimately, like if we make the show, and um, it'd be so cool to end up in the top 10, you know, come feature time. Like it's a long race and it's a lot of stuff that I don't have experience with, but I have guys around me that have a ton of experience with all of it. So, like I said in the beginning, I have really good guys in my corner, and we've unloaded with really good speed there. I've struggled qualifying everywhere, but just about there this year. So, um, pretty pretty confident with how our stuff races, and even goes around by itself there. Honestly, I don't think I could be more confident with any other race this season, which is ironic because this is one that most guys get psyched out for. And um, I think just going into the weekend calm and collected and as a team will be the biggest thing moving forward to help us out.
And for our viewers watching, if you would like to check out Brenham's merch website, we'll leave a link down in the description below to go buy a t-shirt or hat and support Brenham's Racing. Brenham, you've been an awesome guest. We really appreciate your time. But before we let you go, we have our DJD Gear rapid fire segment where we ask you 10 questions, and then Shaun's going to ask you a bonus question at the end. But just come up with the first answer that comes to mind.
All right, hit me.
All right. First question for you is sprint cars or midgets, which is more fun to race?
Ooh, I I would say in the time being, I would say midgets.
Which racetrack that you've raced at has the best facilities?
Best facilities. Port Royal.
In your opinion, who is the most talented sprint car driver of all time?
Of all time. Man. I mean, it's hard to go against Donnie, but I mean, Kyle Larson.
Would you rather win a Chili Bowl Nationals or a Knoxville Nationals?
I think they're both prestigious. That's honestly a tough one to answer. I'm gonna have to go out on a limb and say Knoxville, but Chili Bowl is a very close second.
Obviously, our guy Chase Rodman does a good job at High Limit with the playlist. So, what's your favorite song from your High Limit playlist?
If you want me to be truthful, I really don't have a favorite song. Like some of those, I don't even listen to myself on a regular basis. So, truthfully, like anything country is normally my style. I like Zach Top a lot.
Yeah, good choice. And who's better at baseball, you or your brother?
Me, 100%. He'll tell you otherwise, but you ever need somebody with a glove, and I'm your guy.
All right. Here's where we get into the Texas part. Might be controversial, but Texas Longhorns or Texas Tech Red Raiders?
Texas Tech Red Raiders. If I see anybody with a burnt orange shirt, I kind of just turn and look the other way, or give them like a horns down.
Well, hopefully you don't do that to this next question. What's your favorite Matthew McConaughey movie? He's a big Texas guy. So what's
Okay, yeah, I mean, a lot of respect for him. I'd have to say Interstellar is probably my favorite.
and one of my favorite things about Texas is the food. So what's the best place to get barbecue?
Honestly, anything homemade, I think is probably the best. Like I've had a lot of really good barbecue at restaurants, but nothing beats family cooked barbecue.
All right, and the last question is the most important question, but is everything actually bigger in Texas?
Our pride definitely is. Yep. I mean, short answer, yes. Yeah, I'd say so.
And Shaun, your bonus question.
Yeah, so I was having some fun last week. I know you saw it. Doing the AI Family Guy high limit drivers. Um,
Yep.
Out of 10, how close do you think that was to you?
100. I mean, yeah, the amount of texts I got, like, man, this is completely you. This is awesome. Like, I had to share it because it was so good. I mean, everybody, because I just started going wearing glasses, and everybody's giving me flack for wearing two sets of glasses at one time, and I said, you know what? Like, that's my identity now. I don't care. Like, and this just icing on the cake. I mean, I love it. I think you need to do it for everybody at every racetrack you go to because it was gold.
I've had so many requests for I'm 40 minutes from Oshweek Speedway and I'm there most Friday nights and everybody's like, you got to do us. I'm like, well, don't worry. I got to do something different, but it's coming. So
Yeah, sure.
yeah. Some of those were just so bang on and I saw them pop up and I was just losing it. They were so good. And yours was one of
Yeah,
my favorite ones.
it was awesome, dude. Like I looked at it like that's completely me. I mean, there's nothing on there that didn't scream BRENHAM CROUCH.
Oh man, we really appreciate you coming on, especially with everything you got going here in the next couple weeks, parking some time
Mhm.
for us. We really appreciate it. Um, Good luck at the Nationals, both 360 and Knoxville. I know I'll see you at Port Royal for Tusky. Can't wait for
Yep.
that because that week's a blast too.
Yeah, no, it is. I appreciate you having me on. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Brenham, and horns down.
That's exactly right. Horns down. See you guys.
Scales is proudly presented by DJD Graphics. From commercial and personal vehicles to racing bikes and cars of all makes, models, and disciplines, DJD Graphics can fully customize your vehicle to suit your needs. For more information, contact Darren and visit his website at www.djdgraphics.com. Tell him Shaun and Jacob sent you to receive special rates.